nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds. So ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they are heading with it, those still up to you. Keeping the teens know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that, y'all. Here we go. I'ma show you who I am. Unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape it. The world is in my hands. I am unbreakable. I'ma show you who I am. All that debate and cease and take seats. I hate to be the one say I ain't keep 100. Dread you changing me, we major league. They pay to see the way that we come and compete. It's clear to me, you talking off and me. You say the least, you better believe we been through the ringer, we're through to them arenas. Menu that's for dinner or the ring of 5 fingers. And the difference that's between us, read it written in subpoenas. So in other words, the game that need us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome and thank you for joining Restoration Advisors and Disaster Podcaster. This is Season 2, Episode 6, and we have got some really cool people in the green room. We're here today to talk about next generation superstars. We want to discuss their journey, their future plans, get a perspective from them about a boots on the ground, kind of a bottom up approach versus a traditional podcast guess that it would be a top-down approach in perspective to the industry. So we're going to have a lot of fun. They're in the green room waiting. We got Robert Moré from Maryland and Dylan Timmel from New York. We're going to have a ton of fun, so y'all stand by. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Hey, I forgot to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Kahi. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are familiar with what they do, but they're asset tracking, and it would be my bad if I forgot to mention them because they do so much for us. So anyway, I just wanted to drop that in there real quick before we get started. Robert, Dylan, how you guys doing?
Good.
Guys, I am super stoked. You know, we had a conversation before we got started and went live, but I am super stoked to have you guys here. Obviously, we have talked many times over the last year since I've been with Restoration Advisors, and I personally have been thoroughly impressed with your technical knowledge, your professionalism, and just everything that you guys put into the industry. So thank you for your contributions, but I'm super excited to dive into your journeys because you both have a very unique perspective. Dylan, family-owned business, you're second generation, and Robert has come up through the ranks in several different companies, so you've got a unique perspective as well. And I can imagine that the two of you kind of envy the other, perhaps, and maybe some perspectives that you can't get unless you walk that road that you've walked, you know? So super curious to hear your individual stories and then be able to share that. But really what I really want to do is give our audience a different perspective than what's normally on podcasts. And that is generally guests are senior managers, industry leaders, gurus of that nature trying to teach something from their perspective, right? And that's at a 50,000-foot view, sharing, you know, looking at an industry as a whole from a senior level position. But today I really want to try to grasp and be able to show our listeners, our audience today and in 5 years from now when they find this YouTube video, what does it look like from a junior leader's perspective? What do you guys see as solutions to challenges and problems in the industry? But also, what are some things that senior leaders from their 50,000 foot view might be missing? What are some of the granular details that may be helpful for them? So anyway, that's kind of what I hope to gather today to be able to share with the audience. So why don't you each introduce yourself, the company that you're with currently, how long you've been there. Obviously, Dylan, you've been there your whole life, but how long have you been active, I guess, in the business? And we'll just start there. Go ahead, Dylan.
All right. So a lot of you might know already, but my father owns a fire and water restoration company. So again, I grew up in the business. I want to say I started probably around when I was 16, just diving into the business from there. And I just started out just as just a labor guy, just hauling out trash, throwing it in the dumpster, and
doing the grunt work, right?
Doing the grunt work and stuff
Yep.
people don't like to do. And from there, I went to Atlanta, took some classes, got certified for WRT and ASD, and I really started to get into the whole science of drying, and I started to become really interested and fascinated on that. And I went to FSRT out in Arizona, took Dave Hodges' class, and from there, I really started to get, dive really, really deep into it, and just prospered from there. Just really wanted to learn more about it and all these new technology that's out there, different drying equipment and all that, how I can adapt to it and keep going and learning more.
I can imagine your dad really appreciated a younger set of eyes coming in, and he could let you keep up with the technology and just let him keep doing the business stuff. So
yeah, that's true. He's very computer illiterate, but
well, I wasn't going to go that far, but nice. Robert, what about you?
So I guess I have a similar path as most. I didn't know this industry existed when it was brought to my attention. A family member of mine worked for the company that I started with. So they were looking for technicians. My thought and what I actually did was nowhere near the same thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. What did you think it was? That's an interesting thought. What did you think it was?
Honestly, I thought I had something to do more. Obviously, everybody else thinks it's more technical, more in the technology realm. Not being a laborer going around in sewage and cleaning things up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So technician was a little bit of a misleading.
Yes.
Gotcha. Cool.
But he ended up explaining it to me, and it was something different than I'm used to. So I went into it, full force.
Nice.
So started as a helper at the initial company I started with. About 6 months, I got thrown into the fire like everybody else and started off in the industry.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's your keys to your truck and your paperwork. You're a lead now. All I have is just field training. So
nice.
Haven't had no official ISCRC training as of yet. Did that for a good amount of years before I even had my first certification class.
Okay.
Which was WRT. From there, I fell in love with the science, the industry, everything. So the GM at the time at that company took it upon herself to take me on and show me estimating, which she figured would make me a better and more thorough lead, which it did. You know what I mean? Showed me what I had to look at, what I look for her to write better estimates. She basically took me underneath her wing, took a closer look at me and followed, showed me the ropes basically. Then she moved on to bigger and better things. The owner saw that, I was basically like her protege and asked me if I wanted to take her spot. I saw the opportunity and I did. I was in that position for 2 years before the owner decided to dissolve. But that owner actually, he said to me that I should invest in myself and my career. And from that point on, I kind of always have. And that's either with trainings or just individual readings, all of that. So once that company dissolved, I went to became a mitigation manager with a Paul Davis franchise in Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia. There, I seen what it was like to be in a larger franchise network. Still a little smaller operation as far as Paul Davis's go.
Sure.
Stayed in the mitigation manager for all 5 years there. But once I moved on from there to where I'm at now with Built as a mitigation estimator.
Nice. Very cool. Would you say, and it sounds like both of you guys have this in common, that both of you had a fair amount of field experience before you got certified. Do you guys see a benefit to that versus someone that's brand new in the industry just right away going and getting certified? What do you think? What do you, either of you, both of you, what do you think about that?
So I think, and I've expressed this to other people, I think you got to have the field experience first and then take the certification class, and water being first, because I believe that class puts everything together for you.
Okay.
From the field training into the scientific side.
Sure.
And the drying. Yeah. Or the why, if you will.
Yeah. Dylan, you feel the same?
Absolutely. Just like starting from the bottom of the ladder and going up and going from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All transitions together to become a tech. So definitely.
Now, Dylan, what about for you, being in the fire space? Like, were you're a volunteer firefighter on the side, right? Is that what I understand? Yeah. So you have fire experience. How do you feel that contributed? And do you feel like that helped you, or were you doing restoration before becoming a firefighter?
So I was doing restoration before I became a firefighter.
Okay.
And once I became a firefighter, I found it being more, I guess, helpful for people as well.
Gotcha.
So I went down that route as well. So just between being part of a restoration company and being part of the fire service, I felt like the need to help people. And I just like it when somebody, you go to a house after a fire and they just hug you because you're just, save their house, or your house at the same time. So
I was just wondering, like from a training perspective, if being a firefighter has helped you, because you guys do a lot of firework up in your area. I just was wondering if the firefighter training has helped you with the restoration aspect, or if you kind of already had the knowledge that you needed going into the fire service.
Yeah, it absolutely has. I mean, especially with the whole carcinogens and toxins that are being talked about amongst the fire companies. I mean, we know from our districts and all the other surrounding districts of fire companies that, a lot of these are cancer-causing agents. And while in the restoration industry, I mean, some people don't understand the whole carcinogens and toxins that are actually dangerous to them. So we're just trying to push that out there to the other people that might not even know about them at all. Right.
Interesting. It's interesting that both of you different journeys, but seems like there is some similarities too. So that is interesting. What does your advancement look like? Dylan, you said you started at 16, and Robert, you said you've kind of gone through that advancement. But what would you say to someone that's looking maybe to start a restoration company, or to or that's trying to kind of restructure their business or make it better? What is a good roadmap, I guess, for someone to put in place from your perspective, of how should someone get from a technician to leadership? What does that look like from your perspective?
I mean, I think starting from the bottom and being a laborer or helper or however you title that adds a lot of value to it, because you can see from all the way up all the way from the bottom to the top. I hate saying it that way. Yeah. But well, I mean, it's good to have that experience.
Yeah, cutting drywall. So, it helps. It helps you lead those that need to cut drywall eventually. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Definitely having that knowledge to just go from, from being a tech and then going to a leader. I mean, and owning a company. I think that's a big thing. You don't want to. I don't think you want to just jump right into being a business owner, but I feel like you do need that hands-on experience, like Robert was saying.
What would you say are some good checkpoints along the way to, from your perspective, from your experience, good checkpoints to know when someone is ready for that next level. Any thoughts on that? And listen, that's going from a technician to maybe a lead tech, and then from there maybe to a project manager or estimator.
Well, I think from a technician to a lead tech, showcasing knowledge, good customer service, just a willingness to be there, not be negative, and just mainly showing up. I think. I mean, and then a good lead tech is few and far between these days, but that's stuff that I would look for in lead tech, and just be able to lead, one person or a group of people, shows value.
Yeah. And you said by leading them, right? Like leading,
Yeah.
like what are some leadership characteristics that you look for? Because as I understand it, you've got a few people that are on your team, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you look for when leadership? Like, what does that mean for you?
I guess it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
For me, it's showing up on time, doing what you say you're going to do, taking ownership. Huge Jocko Willard fan, so that's a big detail with me. A knowledge of the industry, knowledge of maximizing the job, all of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dylan, any thoughts on that roadmap? Obviously, having some hands-on experience is helpful. Anything beyond that?
Pretty much what Robert said was justified everything. I mean, just also having just that capability of communicating amongst your technicians is critical as well. Just knowing what you know and applying it to the technicians, and also making sure, even though you're a lead tech, you're not just going to sit back and tell them to do this, this, and that. No, you kind of also got to get your hands dirty as well. So you all got to work together as a group.
They're the face of the company, the first face everybody sees. So.
Yep. Exactly.
They're going to set the tone.
Yep.
Cool. What would you say the culture is like for each of you, and what makes the culture around you great? And obviously, answer it how you want to, but like, what makes the culture around you great, and what can senior leaders learn from people in your roles about how to make their culture better?
Well, with me, it's with being with Build. Build has I believe they have a great culture. Being early on, I had some personal issues that they worked through me with, and it meant a lot to me. It made me want to work harder and do a lot for them, for the whole company, not just the leadership. As far as what leadership could do, I think leadership always focuses on culture. I think nowadays they do anyway. They try to make better cultures, but every leadership is detach themselves, go up 10,000 feet, look down, look at themselves, because like I said, everything flows back to them. So if the culture's not great, it could be one bad seed, that's the cancer, if you will, but somewhere along the line it flows back to the senior leadership. So they just have to look at themselves and see, well, what am I doing? What am I not doing? How can I fix this?
Yeah. Dylan, you guys seem to have a in terms of culture and training, you guys have a great culture of training. You guys post that on your Facebook page quite a bit. How would you say that culture of training has helped you and helped your team?
Yeah. Actually, I started doing a lot of the what I'm trying to do. We started hiring some. Originally, we started having more of a mom and pop business. We just had a lot of our family members helping, close friends, and this came to the point where we need to actually start finding some techs because we're getting a little busy. So I started coming up with the ideas of just doing some training, and it wasn't going well at first. I'm going to be honest, because I was doing a lot of just PowerPoints and slideshows, and yeah, they can get pretty boring. I'll just tell you that. No, especially if you have like 100 slides made. So I said, you know what, why don't we do some hands-on stuff? So I came up with the idea of actually doing some hands-on training, building the containment, how to set up your negative air, how much negative air you need, how many, 4 air exchanges an hour, just going over that whole process with them. And I divided up into different teams. We had 3 different teams in one day. I think that being there and seeing that, I think it's just a light switched on in my head. Like, these people are working together. They're actually having fun doing this. And it's more of a competition to them because we're trying to figure out which containment's the best built.
Nice.
And that's what I think really struck me as for company cultures. They were all getting along. They were all having fun at the same time and learning.
Interesting. So you guys found that the hands-on and the collaborative type actually improved the overall feeling versus just in more like instructional, educational type presentations. Listen, that's kind of a fundamental of building relationships, is to just be engaged and interpersonal. So it's natural, right? It seems like it's common sense, but arguably people miss that. So
yeah, and there still is going to be some. Unfortunately, there are still going to be some PowerPoints and training days. You got to sit down and listen and everything. But I think that was my whole interpretation: just do PowerPoints. But I'm just being straightforward. Is that I found out that doing some of that hands-on stuff definitely helped out my business.
Nothing beats the hands-on. Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, can I ask a favor? Can you, if you haven't already, put your headphones in? I'm getting comments that we're getting a lot of feedback, so I'm wondering if we need to do the headphone thing.
Yeah, I got mine in.
Okay, cool. Dylan, I can That's fine.
Let me go grab it.
That's fine. Do what you need to do. It's cool. Robert, while he's away, let's start diving into this topic. I'm sure Dylan will have some ideas, but this whole idea of a TikTok society, the instant gratification, people needing or wanting to like move on to the next thing and like almost expecting that instant success. But this industry, you got to crawl around a crawl space in the middle of the night with potentially sewage, right? Like, you got to respond to these phone calls half asleep, it seems sometimes, maybe, unless you drink a lot of cold water on the way to wake yourself up, or whatever you do to wake yourself up. And then as soon as you arrive, like, you've got to start being empathetic right away. That just doesn't seem to mesh very well with a TikTok society. So, like, from your perspective, what would you what do you see as kind of the solution to that? Have you given that much thought?
I have, and so when I think about TikTok side, I know that I've seen a willingness that they want to help. I think this industry, and then they love technology, obviously, and this industry has both. That we help people, and we have every day we're getting new technology embedded into our industry. I think by showing that and explaining all that to them, that we have all of this that they want, and a lot of times, especially the mitigation side, there is a gratification where we're the heroes. We come out there, we pump water out, clean up sewage, we start the drying. So there is that gratification there where you got your willingness to help, and we use a lot of technology. Also, I think. I thought about this too, where our industry needs to probably figure out a way that we can get into vocational schools or tech schools, and just educating younger generation on this industry. Like I said, when I came in, I had no idea what this industry was or what it did or anything. I think getting the newer generation educated on this industry and where you could be with it, what you can do with it, is pivotal, I think.
Cool. Hey, Robert, I hate to do this right in the middle of the show. I'm not going to disconnect the show. I'm going to keep that going. Everybody watching, just stand by. Can I ask you and Dylan to bail out real quick and then relog back in? I changed a setting that's hopefully going to fix the echo that I'm getting tons of notes about. I just happened to pull up some comments, and it looks like it's worse than I expected. So I'll drop you both out. If you could just log back in, that'd be awesome. Robert.
Yep.
There we go. Okay. We are back, everyone. Sorry about that. I appreciate everybody hanging in with us. I'm sure we will be notified in the comments as soon as we get back live. So we were talking about the whole TikTok society. Robert, you were saying that you believe that it's almost you have to look for a character trait, and that is the empathy. It seems like even with the empathy, it's almost like we have to. This is sad, and this is across the board. This isn't just restoration, but it's almost like we have to retrain people how to tap into that. They can have it, but this younger generation, you guys, well, Robert, you and I are probably pretty close in age, but Dylan, your age and younger maybe, it's almost like they've lost kind of what interpersonal skills are, and they have blue screens for their lives, and it's almost like they don't really understand how to tap into some of those traits. So. It's an interesting thought, and I don't, we're not going to come up with the answer, but I thought maybe you guys might have some thoughts on, still an echo. Well, we're going to keep going, and we will cut out all this middle stuff in post-production. Dylan, we hadn't really gotten to you. Did you have any thoughts in addition to what Robert said about, tapping into that the empathy that people might have? Because what we're talking about is that connecting restoration and the empathy that you need at 3 a.m. in a crawl space with sewage or a basement, and having to come out of sleep and then get into the truck and then go automatically just start being empathetic. But that doesn't mesh well with the TikTok society, the instant gratification that people expect nowadays. So what are your thoughts about that, and how are you guys at Disaster Relief able to combat that?
It's funny you mentioned that because actually I'm getting an echo on right now. There's a TikToker I follow on social media, and he actually has a restoration company, and I think he's got 350,000 followers, and that's quite a lot for just being a business, I think. And what he does is, what I've seen is, he does a lot of time-lapse videos, and he shows like what it's like before the whole process is going on, and then during the whole process. So like there was an instance where he did a chain smoker's house, and how he just slowly went down with the vacuum with the steamer, and just came off the walls, and people were just commenting how satisfying it was, and it was just interesting how it just came out clean, just like it was. I mean, I don't know, just between doing like a before and after, or even just showing like different technologies that we have, like the ultrasonics. I know, actually Nick Lambert, I think he has a TikTok out in Montana. He has Faithful Restoration, I believe. And he posted a TikTok video showing his ultrasound system and just cleaning some of the materials, which I thought was pretty neat. I mean, that's just me though.
So, well, it's interesting though, because instead of fighting it, right, maybe we embrace it, and by embracing it, we're almost speaking the language of the people that we're actually trying to recruit. We hear all the, Clark's made a hard, fast rule: no TikToks. He refuses to do it. I sent him a video. I don't have TikTok, but a friend of mine sent me the video. I sent the video to him to watch in his browser. He said, nope, it says TikTok on it. I'm not doing it. I thought it was funny, but he's got a hard and fast rule. And I would tend to think that a lot of, my age group and above is probably a lot like that. Like, I don't need that. That's just another social media platform. I'm not getting another one. I get that, but at the same time, as owners and leaders, we have to adapt. We have to understand who we're trying to recruit. If we're trying to recruit, that's sales and marketing, from that angle, but also if we're trying to do marketing to attract new people to our business, we've got to adapt and we have to speak their language. So to your point, Dylan, maybe those are the kinds of things that we need to be doing as owners and leaders to speak the language of this younger generation and get them interested in, the science of it and the before and the afters and the satisfaction of it and, helping the people. That's a great point. And I think it's overlooked a lot, especially with the older generation who tends to be the owners and leaders of the industry and of the companies within the industry. And if it's one of those things where if you don't want to do it, then you may want to think about getting somebody that understands the platform so that they can implement it in your business and you can stay ahead of the curve, so to speak. So I like that. Robert, you came from from an angle of their character. Like you want to look for specific character traits and not necessarily their skill set, which is 100% accurate. I think far too often the industry looks for, I need somebody that's, certified. Well, what if we get somebody that has the character traits that we need, and then we can train them the widget, so to speak, right? And then Dylan, your approach is more, let's speak the language of the people that we're trying to recruit, and tap into that, those platforms that they're on, to hopefully be able to recruit them. Fantastic. I love it. Dylan, what is one strength? And this is, we're going to kind of go back into the family-owned business versus the traditional way of coming up through the industry. What is one strength that you have because you've worked in your family business for your entire career so far, and what do you see as a challenge of that journey?
I think one of the biggest strengths I have right now is just I've learned so much from my father and my family in general, just from my father's mistakes, seeing what he went through and his successes versus what his failures were, and just being able to obtain that right then and there and using it in the future. I think that's what helps me a lot. Contracts are everything now. When he first started out, yeah, he had contracts, but now everything's even more so precise, especially with the insurance carriers. But just having that characteristic, I think, definitely helped. But I'd say one of the biggest weaknesses I have right now is being in one restoration company. I almost wish I had the capability of going to another restoration company and just getting the feel for what it's like working for them, or just seeing a facility in some shape or form. I think that would help benefit, and just see how they approach things and how their restoration businesses run.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can see that, having that that one-on-one shared experience with your father, and just getting that hyper-focused attention on him trying to teach you everything he knows from an industry perspective, but also he's looking out for his son too. So you get that extra layer of education. Same question for you, Robert, but from your perspective, what's a strength that you feel like you have because you work for multiple companies, and then what do you see as a challenge?
I guess my strength would be I can adapt to change fairly well. Meaning I coming from all the three different companies I've been, they all have their own way of doing things. They all have their, even right now I'm doing estimating, so everybody has their own way of doing estimating. So I can see taking how Built does it, mix it with all the other companies I've been with, things like that. Just taking away parts that I can use and mold it into, into doing what I do. You know what I mean? A weakness, I guess, is that.
Yeah, a weakness or just a challenge that you face that Dylan may not face because of his experience.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's something that Dylan may not, face, but it's with me. It's coming from smaller companies and coming to where I'm at now. Is before I wore multiple hats and having to balance that multiple hats between estimating, being a project manager, leading people to now just doing one thing. I have a tendency to keep wanting to do the multiple things instead of just focusing on the one aspect of and that's estimating. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I can take from being with multiple companies is that there's good things I took, and I know to look for, and there's bad things I can take away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back a little bit. Sarah Hamilton chimed in on YouTube. She said, "I agree," and this is going back on the other question conversation about the TikTok society. She said, "I agree regarding the empathy. The actual education in our field can be learned, but finding someone who can put in that personal touch and be able to connect with the customer who is probably freaking out is crucial." So I think that ties in 100%. So, and then Silver Warrior, I think technicians should put time in the field before going to class, but education should not stop there. ICRC is like high school education, and there's so much more to learn after that. So, good points that they're bringing up. So I appreciate everybody hanging in there. We're looks like we're still holding strong despite the echo issues. So I appreciate everybody chiming in, and it looks like we may have to do this again in the future because it's pretty popular. So, what was the first restoration class that each of you took? Who was your instructor, and what memory do you have about the experience? And this can be anything from anything. The dude showed up, somebody showed up drunk, crazy people in the hotel parking lot. Like, just talk about that first experience.
All right. It was actually, my first class was with Reach Drying Academy down in Atlanta. And it was with Joe Dobbins. And I was nervous as heck down there. I didn't even know what it was going to be consisting of. I didn't know who was going to be there. I didn't know anything. I mean, I knew what I learned from the business, but I just didn't know what the class was going to be like. And walking in there, there's all the tables around, and there's probably 30 tables, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's going to be a lot of people here. And quite frankly, it just became more of it just became a great class. I mean, Joe was a phenomenal teacher, and he brought the class. He had a great environment in there, and there's a lot of takeaways I can get from the class. I mean, one takeaway I think would be one humor thing I would say was what happened with Joe Dobbins on one of the jobs that he told us. He ended up having a house he went to, a thermofog, and he talked about how he thermofogged the house, and afterwards he went back in, forgot that homeowner's cat was still in there, and it ended up, dying.
Oh no!
So he had to explain to the homeowner the situation. So that's a good takeaway I got from Joe on that. That's pretty humor, but I think the class went great. I had a good meet and greet with everybody. A lot of connections we developed. So yeah, that was one of my very first classes I took was with Joe Dobbins at Reach's Drying Academy.
Nice. Great story. Unfortunate for someone, but great story. What about you, Robert?
All right, so my first class was WRT with Barry Costa. I guess a memory I have for that is that he probably doesn't realize this, but he pretty much solidified or cemented my love for the industry and love for learning more and more and wanting to know more. And he pretty much, talked about becoming a triple master. And from that point on, I knew that's what I wanted to do. My next goal was that.
Nice.
Another story I tell people from that class all the time is he shows the video of the tanker collapsing from pressure, and he actually did a demonstration with a paint can where he had the paint can collapse from the pressure. It was pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had a gas can do that in the back of my work van one time.
Oof.
Terrifying.
Oh,
It was an empty gas can, but man alive, it scared the crap out of me. Oh, boy. From a holistic point of view of the industry, again, that 50,000-foot view that we've talked about, where do you guys see wasted time, energy, or resources? And where can senior leaders focus their time and energy to make the industry better? I mean, anything from culture, people, training, fleet. Like, how do you guys see the challenges in the industry currently? And what could, from your perspective, could you elaborate on that would help senior leaders in the industry be able to make it better?
you know, if you talk about wasted time, I'd say, I'm just gonna keep it real brief though, but I think a lot of it's just wasted time is just on the dealing with the insurance carriers themselves. I mean, in reality, our contracts with our client, I mean, a lot of people like to deal with the insurance companies, but reality, contracts with your client, the insurance companies like to try and approach you and talk to you, but we just redirect them right to the client and say, no, our contract's with them, not with you. And I think just a big part of it is just educating our clients on that as well. A lot of our, I think that's a lot of our wasted time is just dealing with the insurance companies, having them call us, email us, want this, want that. Just report to the client, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. Clark and I obviously teach that a fair amount in our day-to-day coaching, and that while we in the last 5 to 7 years we've seen a lot of progress in that realm, there's still so much work to be done. But it sounds like you guys at Disaster Relief have kind of adopted that that onboarding process to where you're eliminating a lot of that. So that's interesting, and I think from a junior leader's perspective, being able to manage up, so to speak, and let some of the senior leaders that are out there realize that from a junior leader's perspective, at least your perspective, that's a pain point. Let's face it, I think everybody knows that dealing with the insurance carriers is a pain point in the industry. And it sounds like you guys have figured out a solution for that, and that's phenomenal. I think more people need to hear that. A lot of people aren't ready to make that step, though, for a wide range of reasons. Some understandable, some not so understandable, but that's neither here nor there. But Robert, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wasted time in the industry, just in some aspects, just competing with each other. If there's certain areas where we're all having the same issues, then we should come together in some way. Because I've just been here with Built in a small situation we had where we came together, we all did the exact same thing, made a huge dent, or made them even think about doing something about it. So I think made me think about, well, if every contractor in our area or every contractor, on the East Coast, let's say, got together and focused all their energy, did the same thing for that certain point, it'd make a huge difference. Things changed. That is
a phenomenal point that is missed far too often. A little background on me, and I'll get to the reason I'm going into the background. I came from the transportation industry early in my career. I worked for UPS, and I worked in the truckload division. So I managed a fleet of semis, not the little brown trucks. In that job that I had, I did some brokering where we would actually farm out some of our clients' freight to other carriers in the industry, some of the biggest names in the industry as well. And that taught me that we may have a different label, but ultimately we all are after the same thing, and that's to serve our clients. If that means that I have to give some of the freight that my client gave me to another carrier to accomplish the goal, I was willing to do that. We had working agreements where we did that all day long. They would give us stuff, we'd give them stuff, because it was all about the distribution network that we had at our disposal. Fast forward, I'm in the business that I'm in now, and I'm talking to guys that are trying to run restoration businesses, and they're terrified that, the restoration company down the street is going to know about them, and they're going to know about how they get their clients, and they're afraid Mrs. Jones is going to go to that one because they're, that other company because they're cheaper. Instead of fearing that Mrs. Jones, your client, is going to go to another contractor, why don't you find out what they're doing good that may attract a client and work together? Figure out, maybe Mrs. Jones isn't a good fit for you, but you want to take care of Mrs. Jones, and maybe the best thing for Mrs. Jones is to work with that guy down the street. And if you have a good working relationship with that guy down the street, he may send you business too. So I'm with you 100%. I wish that there was more collaboration. And both of you guys know that Clark and John have started the Alliance of Independent Restorers for that reason, among many other reasons, but there's a tremendous amount of collaboration that happens. We had our Mid-Atlantic chapter meeting about a month ago now, and we had restorers from all over, Central Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina. Many guys were within a 60 to 80 mile radius of each other, and they loved the collaboration. Once you get over that hump mentally, the doors just open, wide open, and there's so much collaboration that can help to build each other up together. So, Dylan, I know you've been to several air events, and I saw you shaking your head when Robert started talking about that. So I tend to get the sense that you kind of agree.
Yeah. I love going to these air events, just meeting people and just seeing how we all, even though we're competitors, but we still all come together and we all want the same thing, which is to help our clients, get them back in their home, get them what they're owed back. I think that's the big thing. That we're just that type of, an air member. I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I think somebody in the feed said it best as co-opetition.
Nice. I didn't see that one. I'm watching the YouTube comments. Silver War said, as I listen here, I think about company culture. I know that, quote, catchphrase has been beaten to death in so many cases, lost its true meaning, but it's so critical. And while I don't know that comment was directly related to the conversation we were just having about competition, I think it can be part of culture, though, to recognize that there's other peers in your local area that you can lean on and you can collaborate with. I think it's so critical as well. We're going to wrap up. We're running right at 52 minutes at this point, so let's start wrapping it up. Just having a little fun here. But where do you guys want to be in 5 years realistically? And in my notes I put we all want to live in a mansion on the cliff with a McLaren in the driveway, but what is it that you want to accomplish? Where do you see yourself within your career in 5 years? Any thoughts on that?
I want to live in a mansion with a McLaren in the driveway.
My man.
No.
Go get it.
No, realistically, I see myself. I mean, if it's in the cards, I wouldn't mind ownership. That's been crossing my mind before. That's. I don't think I'm, there to be, to have that. But maybe even just senior management, somewhere up there, is where I see myself. Just something that could, I can still be in the industry, still be involved, and make a difference. Really.
Yeah.
That's where I think I see myself.
Yeah, ultimately, that comes down to a desire to teach others what you know, what you've learned, the experiences you've gotten, and utilize that to impact more people, ultimately. So that's awesome.
maybe get some articles published. I mean, if I can get some topics going, maybe something like that. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, if you ever want to write a blog, I know a guy that writes blogs, so on industry stuff. He might be open to somebody chipping in every once in a while.
Right.
Dylan, what about you? 5 years. Where do you see yourself?
I think I'm going to be in the same boat with Robert. I want to move up a little bit higher in the ranks to more of an ownership and be able to go out and connect with more of the just develop more relationships and connections with other people. Landlords and insurance agents that are well reputable in the area, and even different fire companies that we have good relationships with. Just try and develop those connections and keep the business flowing and do a lot more client onboarding. I just want to be part of, getting that first grasp of getting our clients signed up and then explain the whole process going forward, which I do. I just want to be able to extend that even further and be able to help people out in the long run.
Nice. Very cool. Well, guys, it's been fun. I really appreciate you jumping on. I really think we were able to give another perspective today. Something I'd hoped going into it, and I believed that we could do, but on the backside of it, I believe we did it. So I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate everything.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, everything that you guys are doing in the industry. It's awesome to see, and I just hope somebody's inspired by this, and does what you guys have done, and that's just learn everything you can learn and be willing to pass it on. So great to have you guys. We'll see you guys on the other side.